Ladies and gentlemen, when we talk about attracting and maintaining the attention of others, particularly in relationships, one of the most powerful forces at play is the energy we project through our own self-respect and confidence. It's crucial to understand that this isn't just about acting like we're confident. It's about genuinely cultivating a sense of self-worth that others can sense even without words. Men, like all people, are instinctively drawn to strength. But here's the thing. True strength doesn't come from arrogance or bravado. It comes from the quiet assurance of knowing who you are, what you stand for, and what you won't tolerate. It's about being grounded in your own value, independent of external validation. The idea of self-respect is often overlooked. We live in a world that teaches us to seek approval from others, often to the detriment of our own sense of self. But the reality is, if you can't respect yourself first, how can anyone else? Self-respect isn't something that can be faked or demanded. It's earned through actions. When you have a solid understanding of your value, it manifests in the way you carry yourself, how you talk, how you move, how you choose to engage with the world. It's not about putting on an act or trying to impress anyone. It's about aligning your behavior with your inner truth. Psychologically, confidence is often linked to a deep internal sense of security. Think about it. When we lack confidence, it's typically because we are uncertain about ourselves. We might seek validation from others, hoping their approval will fill the gaps we feel within ourselves. But this creates a dependency that is ultimately unfulfilling. Confidence, on the other hand, stems from the ability to stand alone, to trust in our own judgment and decision. It's about developing a sense of internal validation, where your value is not contingent on the fluctuating opinions of those around you. And here's the kicker. When you begin to project that kind of energy, people, men included, are drawn to it. Not because you are putting on a show, but because you are radiating a calm certainty about who you are. Now consider this. Self-respect also means knowing your boundaries. Boundaries are not just rules you impose on others, they are a reflection of how much you value yourself. If you respect yourself, you will naturally set limits on what you will accept from others. You won't tolerate disrespect or manipulation because you understand that you deserve better. And here's the truth that many people don't want to admit. Boundaries are attractive. They create space for real connection. They tell others, I am not here to settle for anything less than what I deserve. When you set boundaries with the intention of protecting your own well-being, you create a framework within which a relationship can truly thrive. And when you're firm in that, people are more likely to respect you and return to you, not because you are demanding their attention, but because they respect what you stand for. But why does this all matter in the context of relationships? The simple answer is that people, men in particular, are wired to seek strength and stability. They are not looking for someone who constantly needs reassurance or is desperately trying to please them. While affection and connection are important, they are built on the foundation of respect, and respect starts with you. When you know your own value, others begin to see it too. When you don't tolerate less than you deserve, they learn what to expect from you and they'll rise to meet those standards. It's like the old adage, treat others how you want to be treated. But it's more than that. It's about treating yourself the way you expect to be treated, first and foremost. This isn't about perfection. It's not about being flawless or never having self-doubt. Confidence is in the absence of fear. It's the ability to stand tall despite it. It's about recognizing your worth even on days when you feel less than stellar. This is where true power lies, in your capacity to remain grounded in your own identity, regardless of external circumstances or the behaviors of others. It's a strength that comes from within, a quiet, unwavering confidence that doesn't need to shout to be heard. It's in your ability to stand firm in your boundaries, to express your needs without apology, and to refuse to settle for anything less than the respect and care you deserve. And while this self-assurance may not always guarantee that things will go perfectly, it will undoubtedly increase the likelihood of attracting someone who values you for who you are. When you show up as your authentic self, when you embody self-respect, the right people will recognize you. The ones who don't will simply fall away. You won't need to chase after them because they will naturally gravitate toward your strength, your authenticity, your confidence. To conclude, remember this. Self-respect and confidence are not acts. They are the natural outpouring of knowing and loving who you are. When you act from a place of genuine self-worth, not only do you become more attractive, but you also create an environment where real, meaningful connections can take. So don't just wait for others to see your value, understand it yourself. When you do, you'll never have to chase after someone again. When we think about relationships, one of the fundamental building blocks that too often gets overlooked is the importance of boundaries. In a world that's constantly pushing us to please others, to meet their expectations, and to mold ourselves into something that fits neatly within the confines of someone else's desires, setting boundaries can seem foreign. But boundaries are not a luxury, they are a necessity. Without them, we risk losing ourselves in the very relationships we are trying to cultivate. Boundaries are not only a sign of respect for ourselves, but they are also the key to maintaining healthy, enduring connections with others. At their core, boundaries are a psychological and emotional safeguard. They define where we end and where others begin. They are a direct reflection of how much we value ourselves. If we can't set boundaries, we are essentially telling others that we don't know where our limits lie, and by extension, we don't believe we deserve to have those limits respected. But when we set boundaries, we are communicating something far more powerful. We are telling others that we are in control of our own lives and that we won't tolerate anything that compromises our well-being. This doesn't mean being rigid, nor does it mean pushing people away. Boundaries are not walls, they are markers. They are the healthy distance we place between ourselves and others in order to create space for genuine connection. Without them, we risk becoming enmeshed with others in unhealthy ways, losing our sense of identity in the process. It's important to recognize that boundaries are not about trying to control other people. They are about taking responsibility for ourselves. They are about protecting our energy, protecting our time, and protecting our hearts. Now let's consider the psychology behind boundaries. At a fundamental level, we need to understand that people are naturally drawn to those who have a clear sense of self. Men in particular are often more inclined to commit to someone who demonstrates emotional intelligence, self-awareness, and the ability to draw clear lines when necessary. Why? Because boundaries signal stability and emotional maturity. They show that you're someone who values their own time and emotional energy, which makes you a person who is worthy of respect. When we don't set boundaries, we send a message that we are willing to sacrifice our own needs for the sake of someone else's comfort. This is a dangerous road to travel. People who are constantly accommodating others at their own expense may initially attract attention, but it's not the kind of attention that leads to long-term fulfillment. It's fleeting. It's the result of trying to please someone rather than allowing a relationship to develop naturally based on mutual respect. One of the most profound elements of setting boundaries is that it encourages other people to rise to meet your standards. By setting clear limits, you're inviting others to behave in ways that are aligned with your values and needs. This may sound counterintuitive. After all, many people believe that if they give too much of themselves, if they keep bending over backward for someone, they'll earn that person's affection or admiration. But the opposite is often true. When you're constantly available, constantly accommodating, constantly putting someone else's needs first, you're not giving them the opportunity to value you on your own terms. You're just making yourself convenient. And let me tell you, convenience doesn't breed respect. On the flip side, when you assertively set boundaries, whether it's saying no when you need to, standing firm on your own needs, or expressing your emotions honestly, you're signaling that you have self-respect. Men and people in general are drawn to this because it reflects an internal strength. They understand that being in a relationship with you will require them to show up as their best selves, And this, in turn, creates a dynamic of mutual respect where both partners contribute to the growth and maintenance of the relationship. Boundaries provide a framework within which a relationship can evolve in a healthy, balanced way. There is another, less obvious psychological element to setting boundaries that's crucial. They help you maintain emotional independence. In a relationship, it's easy to fall into the trap of becoming overly dependent on the other person for validation, approval, or emotional support. But emotional dependency is not love. It's insecurity. True connection comes from two individuals who are secure in themselves, who can stand on their own, but choose to be together because they see value in the relationship. Setting boundaries ensures that you're not relying on the other person to define your sense of self-worth. It ensures that you're not sacrificing your own needs or desires for the sake of keeping the peace or maintaining the relationship. When we talk about relationships where men always return to you, the truth is that they are returning because you've shown them that you have your own life, your own goals, and your own passions. You are not waiting for their validation to feel whole. They return because they recognize that being with you is not about having control over you, but about sharing in a partnership where both people are self-assured, self-sufficient, and yet still willing to invest in one another. Now, I understand that this is not always easy to do. Setting boundaries requires courage, and it can feel vulnerable. After all, you may worry about pushing people away or making them upset. But here's a simple truth. If someone genuinely respects you, they will respect your boundaries. And if they don't, that's information you need to pay attention to. Healthy relationships are built on mutual respect and understanding, and boundaries are the foundation of that. If you can't set them, the relationship is likely to devolve into something far less meaningful. In conclusion, setting boundaries is not just a self-care practice. It's an act of self-love. It's an expression of self-respect, and it is the key to fostering healthy, enduring relationships. When you set boundaries, you're giving others the opportunity to meet you on your terms, to show you the respect you deserve, and to build a relationship based on equality, trust, and mutual admiration. So don't be afraid to draw the line when necessary. The right people will respect it, and those who don't, well, they weren't meant to stay. When we discuss the concept of attracting and maintaining meaningful relationships, there's a key element that often gets overlooked: personal growth. Now, personal growth isn't something you do to become more attractive or to simply win someone's attention. It's far more profound than that. It's about investing in yourself, developing your passions, and constantly striving to become the best version of who you are. The truth is, men, or anyone for that matter, are not drawn to someone who is stagnant. They are drawn to individuals who are evolving, who are actively working on themselves, not out of desperation, but out of a deep sense of purpose and ambition. Personal growth, at its core, is the pursuit of meaning. It's about seeking out purpose in life, whether it's through your career, your creativity, your relationships, or your contributions to the world. When you are constantly moving towards something that excites you, something that fills you with passion, you radiate energy that others can't help but notice. This energy, this drive is magnetic. People are attracted to those who have a clear sense of direction and ambition. Men are particularly drawn to women who have their own goals and aspirations. Why? Because these women are not looking for someone to complete them. They are already complete. They're looking for someone who complements them, someone who can contribute to the journey they are already on. But here's the thing that often gets misunderstood. Personal growth doesn't mean you have to be perfect. It's not about becoming flawless or reaching some unattainable ideal. It's about being engaged in the process of becoming better, even in small, incremental ways. Perfection is an illusion. Growth is the reality. And that's incredibly attractive. The pursuit of personal growth signals resilience, commitment, and a refusal to settle for mediocrity. It's a statement that says, I am willing to invest in myself because I understand that the journey is just as important as the destination. Now, there is a deeper psychological reason why men, or anyone really, are drawn to someone who is focused on personal growth. People are naturally attracted to energy that reflects a sense of purpose and direction. This energy is magnetic because it signals to others that you are in control of your own life. and you are not seeking validation from external sources. It's not about doing something to make someone else happy. It's about finding fulfillment and meaning on your own terms. When you commit to growth, you are signaling that you value yourself and your future, and when others see this, it triggers a natural respect. They begin to recognize that you are someone worth investing in because you are already actively investing in yourself. One of the most powerful aspects of this concept is that when you focus on your own growth, you also become a source of inspiration to others. Think about it. When someone is actively pursuing their own goals, overcoming obstacles, and striving to improve themselves, they create an environment that encourages others to do the same. This doesn't mean you have to be perfect. It just means you have to be committed. And that commitment is contagious. It inspires those around you to take ownership of their own journey. This is why it's so important to find your passions. The world is filled with distractions, endless things that demand your time and attention. But when you find something that resonates with you deeply, something that challenges you and pushes you to grow, it becomes a foundation that supports you no matter what else happens in life. Whether it's a career, a creative pursuit, or an intellectual challenge, finding something you are passionate about gives your life direction. And that direction is incredibly powerful. It creates stability within you, a sense of inner peace that doesn't rely on external factors to feel fulfilled. And let's be honest for a moment. No one wants to be in a relationship with someone who is dependent on them for their happiness. It's draining, it's unbalanced, and it often leads to feelings of resentment. On the other hand, when you are focused on your own personal growth, you become someone who is whole in and of yourself. You're not looking for someone to fulfill all your emotional needs because you have the emotional strength to meet your own needs. This is the kind of person others are drawn to. They don't feel like they're carrying the weight of the relationship. Instead, they feel like they are walking beside someone who has their own sense of self and purpose. The beauty of this process is that personal growth doesn't just benefit you. It elevates everyone around you. As you develop as an individual, you become more capable of offering meaningful, reciprocal love and support in your relationships. When you're growing, you become a better partner, friend, and confidant. The emotional and intellectual depth you gain from personal growth translates into the way you relate to others. This depth creates more genuine connections, ones that are based on mutual respect and shared values, rather than superficial attraction or dependence. But here's the key to understanding why personal growth is so crucial in the context of relationships. It creates an environment where authenticity can flourish. When you are committed to growing, to understanding yourself and your desires, you are less likely to settle for a relationship that doesn't serve you or fulfill you. You won't chase after someone who doesn't appreciate your worth. Instead, you will attract the kind of person who resonates with your journey and your values. This is not to say that relationships are effortless or without challenges, but rather that personal growth helps you build a strong foundation on which to weather those challenges together. In conclusion, personal growth is not just about becoming a better version of yourself for the sake of others. It is about becoming a better version of yourself for your own sake, because you understand that your life, your purpose, and your journey are worth the investment. When you focus on your own growth, you become more attractive, not because you are chasing after someone, but because you are busy building a life that others want to be a part of. So invest in yourself, pursue your passions, strive for growth. The right people, those who truly see you for who you are, will be drawn to that energy, and they will return to you, not because they need you, but because they respect and admire the person you've become. When we talk about relationships, one of the most delicate and yet critical dynamics is the balance between independence and support. It's easy to think that love or affection must be defined by constant togetherness, by being always available to the other person. The romantic ideal often pushes us to believe that a truly committed partner should be entirely reliant on us, and vice versa. But in reality, the most fulfilling relationships are rooted in the delicate art of balancing independence with emotional support. This balance is what allows two people to grow together, not because they depend on each other for their emotional stability, but because they choose to support one another in their respective journeys. At the heart of this balance balance is independence. Independence is not about isolation or emotional detachment. It is about recognizing that your sense of self-worth is not dependent on the approval or presence of anyone else. Independence means having your own goals, your own interests, and your own identity, irrespective of the relationship. It means being able to stand firm in who you are, knowing that you do not need another person to complete you. The truth is, it is impossible to have a healthy, sustainable relationship if you are constantly looking to the other person for validation or fulfillment. You may temporarily fill a void, but in the long run, that void will reappear, often manifesting as resentment or frustration. Men, like women, are drawn to strength. But strength is not found in the ability to control or manipulate another person. Rather, it is found in the ability to maintain your integrity and self-identity, regardless of external circumstances. People, especially men, respect individuals who are confident in their own identity and who are able to navigate their lives with a sense of purpose and autonomy. When you are emotionally independent, you free both yourself and your partner from the pressures of emotional dependence. You give each other the space to breathe, to grow, and to thrive as individuals without feeling smothered or overwhelmed by the constant need for reassurance. This emotional independence does not mean you should cut off your partner or withhold affection or care. On the contrary, it means that you are not relying on your partner to meet all of your emotional needs. You are emotionally self-sufficient, and your partner is not the source of your happiness, but rather a partner with whom you can share your happiness. In a healthy relationship, both partners are able to bring their individual experiences, emotions, and ideas to the table, knowing that they are not trying to control or dictate the other's life. There's a fundamental trust that allows both people to be themselves without fear of losing the other or having to compromise their own values. Now let's talk about support. Support is the counterpart to independence. Support is what strengthens the bond between partners. It's what allows them to face challenges together, to share their vulnerabilities, and to offer each other the encouragement needed to navigate the inevitable difficulties of life. Emotional support is not about sacrificing your own needs for the other person. It's not about becoming a martyr or losing yourself in the process. It's about being there for the other person when they need you, offering a listening ear and providing a safe space for them to express themselves. But here's the important part. Support should always be reciprocal. It should be a give and take, a dynamic where both partners contribute to the relationship in meaningful ways. There's a certain psychology at play here. When one partner is constantly giving, constantly supporting, while the other is taking, a dangerous imbalance forms. Over time, this imbalance can lead to feelings of resentment and exhaustion, but when both partners are equally committed to providing emotional support and care, it strengthens the connection. The relationship becomes a source of stability and comfort, not because one person is leaning on the other for support, but because both are able to lean on each other equally. This mutual exchange of support is what creates a lasting bond, one that is built on trust, respect, and understanding. Now, it's important to note that this balance doesn't happen automatically. It requires conscious effort and communication. Both partners must be willing to engage in the relationship as equals, without one trying to dominate or control the other. This means recognizing when you need support and being able to ask for it, but also being aware of the times when your partner needs space to focus on their own goals, passions, or challenges. You can be supportive without being suffocating. You can be independent without being distant. The trick is to find the sweet spot between the two, where both of you are able to flourish individually while also nourishing the relationship. The psychology behind this dynamic is powerful. Men especially are drawn to partners who have their own lives, their own ambitions, and their own sense of purpose. But they also crave emotional connection and the security that comes with knowing that someone will be there when things get tough. They respect women who are strong in their own right, who have mastered their independence, but are still able to be vulnerable and open when it matters. It's the balance between strength and vulnerability that makes a relationship truly fulfilling, because it allows both partners to bring their whole selves to the table, knowing that they are not trying to fix or complete the other, but simply share their lives together. In the end, relationships thrive when both partners understand that they are two separate individuals who choose to be together, not because they need to, but because they want to. They want to share their lives, their dreams, and their challenges, knowing that the other person respects their individuality. And in this respect, both independence and support are essential. It's the ability to maintain your own identity while also offering love and care to someone else that creates a strong, healthy relationship. So as you move forward in your relationships, remember this: emotional independence is not a sign of weakness, but of strength. Support is not about sacrifice, but about mutual respect. When you find the balance between these two forces, you create a foundation upon which your relationship can truly flourish. Don't seek a partner to complete you. Seek a partner who complements the life you've already built, and when you do, the right person will not only stay, but they will be grateful to have you by their side. The final piece of this puzzle, the key to truly understanding why men always return to you, is rooted in the idea of emotional transparency. When we think about relationships, we often think in terms of attraction and attachment, but what underpins both of these is the concept of trust. Trust is built, nurtured, and tested over time, but it starts with emotional transparency. An openness about who you are, what you need, and how you feel. It is this transparency that not only sustains relationships, but makes them strong and lasting. In the course of any meaningful relationship, there are moments when vulnerability is required. We have all experienced them, the moments where you have to take a deep breath and expose the parts of yourself that are often hidden. The parts that may carry your fears, insecurities, or unspoken desires. This is not easy. It is terrifying, in fact, because vulnerability opens you up to the possibility of rejection. It's a raw exposure of your inner world, and in that rawness, there's always the risk that the other person may not understand or accept what they see. But here's the paradox. It's precisely in that vulnerability, that openness, where true connection is forged. Emotional transparency is not simply about saying "I love you" or revealing your thoughts when it's convenient. It's about showing up with your whole self, the good, the bad, and the ugly. It's about allowing your partner to see you in all your complexity, to see you when you're not at your best, when you're not performing, when you're not hiding behind a mask. There's a psychological depth to this. When you allow someone to see you as you truly are, without pretense, you're offering a gift, a trust that cannot be easily replicated. And this ultimately is the foundation on which any lasting bond is built. But there's another layer to this transparency, one that is often misunderstood. Emotional transparency is not just about sharing your emotions freely, it's about being responsible for them. It's about understanding your own feelings deeply enough to express them in a way that doesn't overwhelm or confuse the other person. It's not about dumping your emotions onto your partner, but rather about having the emotional maturity to communicate your feelings in a way that fosters understanding and connection. This is where many people falter. They feel vulnerable, but they don't know how to communicate that vulnerability in a healthy, constructive way. So they either suppress it, which leads to emotional distance, or they overwhelm the other person, which leads to conflict and discomfort. Emotional transparency requires a delicate balance between openness and responsibility. In relationships, emotional transparency can also be a powerful tool for creating intimacy. Intimacy isn't just about physical closeness, it's about emotional closeness, a depth of understanding that allows two people to be truly seen by each other. And in this regard, emotional transparency is an invitation. It's an invitation for the other person to meet you in your rawest, most honest form. It's saying, "This is who I am, and I trust you enough to show you this part of myself. When you offer that kind of trust, it creates a bond that is difficult to break. It fosters a sense of safety and connection that allows both partners to grow, both individually and together. It creates the kind of environment where people can come back to one another, even after periods of distance or uncertainty. Let's also consider the psychological aspect of this transparency in terms of attraction. People are drawn to those who are not afraid to be real, to express their emotions openly and authentically. There is an undeniable magnetism to someone who is self-aware enough to understand their own feelings and strong enough to communicate them. It's not about perfection. It's not about always having the right words or never feeling vulnerable. It's about the courage to be imperfect, the courage to show up as your true self. Men in particular are drawn to women who have the confidence to express their emotions without shame or hesitation. It signals emotional maturity. It signals that you are not afraid of intimacy, that you are ready and willing to connect on a deeper level. The key here is not to hide behind a facade or play games. It's about showing up with your true self and allowing the other person the space to do the same. When both partners engage in this level of emotional transparency, the relationship becomes something more profound than simply a surface-level connection. It becomes a partnership based on mutual understanding and shared vulnerability. And in relationships like these, there's a deeper connection, one that keeps both partners coming back to each other. It's not about perfection, nor is it about constantly trying to please the other. It's about showing up authentically and in doing so creating a relationship that is solid and real. But why does this transparency make men return? Because it builds a sense of security. Emotional transparency creates a safe environment where both partners feel they can be themselves without fear of judgment or rejection. This safety fosters deeper emotional bonds. It allows both partners to relax into the relationship, knowing that they are not playing a game, not having to prove their worth. They are simply loved and accepted as they are. This kind of unconditional acceptance is rare, and when it's offered, it's not easily forgotten. Men return because they realize they are with someone who is not only willing to show up as their true self, but is also capable of accepting and supporting them in their own truth. Ultimately, emotional transparency is not about being perfect or never making mistakes. It's about being real, being open, and being willing to show up with the full range of your emotions. It's about building a relationship on trust, vulnerability, and honesty. It's the foundation of a deep and lasting connection. When you create an environment where both partners feel safe to express their true selves, you create something that is greater than the sum of its parts. And that's what keeps people coming back, because in that space they feel seen, understood, and valued. In conclusion, emotional transparency is the secret ingredient to building relationships that endure. It's the willingness to be vulnerable, to show up authentically, and to communicate your emotions in a healthy, responsible way. This level of openness creates deep emotional intimacy, fosters trust, and ultimately makes the relationship stronger and more resilient. So, don't be afraid to show your true self. When you do, not only will you attract the right people into your life, but you'll also create connections that are built to last. And when those people leave, it won't be because they didn't see you. It will be because they didn't truly appreciate what it means to connect at this level of depth. And in that, you will find the strength to move forward, knowing that those who are meant for you will always come back. In conclusion, the key to understanding why men always return to you lies not in playing games or manipulating emotions, but in cultivating a sense of self that is strong, independent, and emotionally transparent. The foundation of any meaningful relationship is built upon your ability to be your true self. Confident, self-sufficient, and committed to your own growth. Men are drawn to women who are not only emotionally self-aware but also capable of offering the same openness and authenticity that they themselves seek. By investing in your own personal development, maintaining your independence, and creating a relationship dynamic rooted in trust and mutual support, you create an environment where true connection can flourish, When you show up in your full, unfiltered self, you invite others to do the same, fostering a bond that is unbreakable and real. And when you offer the transparency of your emotions with maturity and responsibility, you build a foundation of security that allows both partners to thrive. The relationships that stand the test of time are not those based on dependency or pretense, but those built on respect, genuine connection, and the courage to be vulnerable. Men return not because they need to complete you, but because they see you as a partner who complements their own journey. So, invest in yourself, embrace your independence, and be unapologetically real. In doing so, you will attract the kind of love that is lasting, deep, and unwavering, and in the end, that's the kind of love that always comes back.